I got a good angle on it?
Let's find out. How's that looking?
Yeah, that works.
There we go.
So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Once we have all the cards laid out, I won't really refer back to this as much unless it feels like more, like important to the information. But it'll be interesting to see kind of like what the deck believes your personhood is made up of, like what you more lean to, and just like Hogwarts houses, it's entirely possible that your heart and spirit kind of remains in 2 different houses, even 4 different houses, and you have everything kind of connected. But it'll be interesting to see whether or not you lean towards certain things. And if I were to guess right now, I would guess that Wands and Cups would come up more for you, which are more like spirit and more emotion based. As I said, from like Swords, with this more just like logic and thoughts and things like that. But what we're really focusing on here is like I'll be referring back to that sometimes, so there'll be maybe some little moments of just kind of like reflection, but I'll be referring mostly to these 2 pages, and this is the Who the Hell Are You spread, and it's a giant spread, so there's 11 different things here. So the reason I have this guy laid out is so that we can better like see what's going on. So what we're gonna do at first is, while we're at it, while I'm explaining this, so as I was describing to you earlier, and I'll say it again, is what I'm doing right now is putting my energy into this deck, and like I described earlier, it's like a spectral hand can come out of my chest. And so that's what I'm doing is that spectral hand's not out all the time. It can't be out all the time. And so me doing this is allowing it to almost connect to these cards, which I see as, an extension of the universe, but its own personhood almost. So I'm extending my spectral hand, and so I'm going to give it to you, and you can do anything with it. You can hold it, you can think about it, you can shuffle it, and that is inviting your spectral hand to come out. And so what we're going to do is both our hands will come out and hold each other, and we're going to just dip our hands into the pool of knowledge, and we're not necessarily bringing new information to you. We're not like, the universe isn't just going to like reveal all this new information that you never knew before. Everything that's going to be here, most likely you'll already know. Somewhere inside of you, you'll know it. Because what's really happening is like a current almost, like it's coming from you. The universe is going to pull up. It's going to take information from inside of you. It's going to pull it out, and it's going to put it right in between our hands here. So when we pull back out, back to Earth again, and we're here with the deck now, that all that information is here in front of us. So we're just kind of pulling it out and bringing it here. And the reason I come in is so that I can understand it. Otherwise, if you didn't need another perspective, you wouldn't need me to read your cards. But we're coming together so that we can both be here to experience the knowledge that is all inside of you. So we're just pulling it out of you, throwing it on the table, essentially, for just everybody to see. We're just going to do that. So whenever you're ready, we're going to start pulling cards, and we're going to pull all the cards at one time. So I'm just going to, lay them out for right now. We might move them around a little bit. But the first one, I'm just going to kind of like read the prompts, and you're just going to decide. The first one is going to be your head. So this is how you go about making decisions. This would be the next card. Also keep in mind, I don't read reverses.
Okay.
I really only read reverses if, like, I will read mostly from the book, and if it's just like, it doesn't make any sense for you, and you feel like it doesn't make any sense, and I feel like it doesn't make any sense, let's look to the reverse, because it's almost always like the opposite effect, and that kind of seems to fit better in that way. And if after, the front facing and the reverse doesn't work, then we'll pull again. but mostly I read everything face up. So the second one we're going to pull too. So this is your shoulders. So this is the burdens that you carry or have carried. And these aren't necessarily bad things. You know, they're just burdens as they are. Okay. So the next one is your heart. This is the core of your inner being. The essence of your spirit is going to be this next one. Which is, I guess, a really daunting thing to call for.
I know, right?
And then the next one is going to be what crosses your heart. So this is what challenges you, which is different from your burdens. And that challenges are things that you overcome and that kind of pass. And you're only going to pick one for this one.
Oh.
So the next one is going to be your spine. So this is what supports you. It's what keeps you going. Okay, and the next one is going to be your hands. So there's going to be 2 of those. And this is what you're capable of, your skills. Okay, and then the next one's going to be your groins. This is your desires and your wants. That's Kuma's card. Okay, so let's kind of adjust these a little bit. We're going to move them around just over here. Next are your feet. So there's 2 of them. This is what your future holds and kind of the path you're going down. Okay. And then 9 is the ground. So it's your foundation, what you were built on. And then we're going to pick one for your outside influence. And when we're talking about this card, the next one that you're going to pick is going to be how it affects you. So this is just what the outside influence is. So just pick one of those. Okay. And then the second one and the final card is how this outside influence affects you as a person. Oh. Okay. Very much like I expected, you have mostly wands, which is the, yeah, it's more of the, this is like related to your spirit, and very much like, you know, how your spirituality, how you function, and what your beliefs are and everything like that. Like, being connected to this is obviously important to you. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because so far what I'm seeing is the things that are challenging you are the more like logical side of things, not in the sense like you're stupid, you can't get anything. Like, it's kind of the whole coming to a stop, coming to a halt. You know, with some people it's just sort of like, okay, like why can't you feel how I feel? And like struggling with that when they're saying like, why can't you think like I think? And like having that struggle, that seems to be what is happening here at face value is, why can't you feel? Why can't you think? And they're intrinsically connected to each other, but also different, and it kind of is clashing in your whole personhood here. So let's kind of dive in, because this takes a little bit. So the first one we're going to talk about is your head. So this is how you make your decisions, which is the 7 of Wands. So just take this moment to kind of like look at the image. You can get a lot from the image. It says a whole darn lot about what's going on. So again, this is the one of how you make decisions. And I'm going to read just directly from what it says and then kind of interpret more about it. So, a young man on a craggy eminence brandishing a staff. 6 other staves are raised towards him from below. So it is a card of valor, for on the surface, 6 are attacking one, who has, however, the vantage position. On the intellectual plane, it signifies discussion, wordy strife. In business, negotiations, war of trade, barter, competition. It is further a card of success, for the combatant is on the top and his enemies may be unable to reach him. And also keep in mind, because this is the Rider-Waite deck, these descriptions can kind of seem a little medieval in their vocabulary. So when it's like war and stabbing, take that with a little bit of a grain of salt, because it's kind of insane how it will say things sometimes. But really what this is saying to me is the way that you make decisions when you sit and you think, okay, well, what am I going to do about this situation? It's kind of at a position of attack. It's not just like, oh, I'm just going to do this type of thing. It's very much like almost methodical in the sense where almost like making decisions, and whether or not this is true, is making decisions feeling like there's only one of me and there's 6 other people trying to attack me right now, so I gotta be ready, Like, that's how the decisions would be come across. So and that's where the competitive nature and everything of this card comes from, is that feeling of like, I gotta make something quick. I gotta figure out the right move, or I'm gonna get hit by one of these other things, And that's where the whole process of everything going on. Whether or not that's useful to you will be explained later, but that's currently what's going on.
Super accurate though.
Yeah, it's just like I'm being attacked, and so there's really not a whole lot of time to sit and be like, okay, let's sit in this and let's, marinate and think about it. It's just this feeling of like constantly gotta go, is what this card is explaining. So the next one is your shoulders. So there's 2 of these. The first one is the Hermit. And so these are burdens that you are currently carrying or have carried. And again, they're different because we have one that are challenges that you faced. And it's different, where burdens aren't necessarily like for instance, my dad's card, one of his cards was his children. And another one of his cards was his fortunate marriage. And those aren't intrinsically negative. So burdens can absolutely be negative, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bullshit all the time.
Right.
These could just be things that weigh heavy on your heart, and it's up to you really, based on how you choose to hold the rest of your personhood, whether these things are, becoming a negative in your life. So the Hermit is prudence, also and especially treason, dissimulation, corruption, and roguery. And all of that is really medieval talk for really feeling, I would connect it back to isolation. And a burden that you carry is, fighting this fight alone. Again, whether or not that's true, it's something that you and your soul believe. Is that a part of you, even though, you live with Matt, and you're here with Matt, and you're here with us, and we're here with you fight this fight alone. It's not, you and another guy fighting against 6 other guys. It's you fighting against everybody else. And that's what this is calling to, is that's a burden that you carry, is that isolation, whether that comes from, past with your parents and things like that. And I've noticed it too, with you growing up, it's getting grades by yourself, getting your job by yourself, moving out by yourself. And this burden calls to just doing everything by yourself. And that's tiring. There's a reason the Hermit's an old guy. He's not like a sprightly young chap. He's an old dude.
Hell yeah.
It's tiring. It's exhausting. So that would be one of the burdens that you got here. The other one is the Page of Cups, which is kind of an interesting card. You'll notice that he's got a fish coming out of his cup, which I always think is really interesting. So this is a fair, pleasing, somewhat effeminate page of studious and intent aspect. Contemplates a fish rising from a cup to look at him. So divinatory meanings are a fair young man, one impelled to render service, and with whom the current will be connected. A studious use, news, message, application, reflection, meditation, also those things directed to business. So this one tends to come up a lot with the people that I read. And really what this is it's really about delivering messages in sort of almost an education standpoint, because there is another card that's really delivering truth, like universal emotional truths. This one is really bringing, your intelligence and using that to guide other people. And that could potentially be a burden for you because, like I was suggesting earlier, like the whole, why aren't you feeling what I'm feeling? How in the world are you not feeling how I'm feeling? And, then the other side of how are you not thinking how I'm thinking is that's where this sort of comes from, is this burden is needing desperately to deliver this message, to deliver this education. And maybe the burden is just that, is feeling that you have to deliver the message. But maybe the message doesn't necessarily have to be delivered to another person. The burden could just be that you feel like you have to deliver to every single other person that you see, or, specific people, but this, it can be interpreted as it just needs to,
That makes sense, because I sometimes feel the need to kind of explain my whole life to people.
Yeah.
And explain why I do the things I do, because I feel like otherwise people won't understand who I am.
Yeah, and that's where this comes from. It's just I got it. And the whole kind of what it's calling to is just sort of and I mean, really what I found that these cards in particular are good at doing is asking you why. Why is it that isolation? Why is it that trying to deliver this message, even though you feel isolated?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's where it comes from, this feeling like you have to, because nobody's around you enough to know, this deck is asking you why, It's not saying hey, you're shitty for doing this. That means why. Why do you feel that need to explain that to everybody when you really don't need to?
Mm-hmm.
A, because it could be none of their business, or B, because they should just understand already, doesn't need explaining, because the whole wands thing, it's not emotions, it's spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And people who understand spirit and spirituality, it's not normally something that can be taught.
Right.
It's really just something that can be felt. That's why we connect. It's because you don't have to tell me how it works, I just know already. And there's just that level where really what this is already connecting to is the people that you're going to have the easiest and best connections with are the people you just connect with. But a struggle you're having is the people you don't connect with right away is why am I not connecting with them? It's because they just aren't on the same wavelength as you. And these burdens are calling out and sort of saying why are you so stuck on that type of thing? That's a lot. So let's move on to the next card. This is the Four of Pentacles. Pentacles is normally related to finance, which is interesting. That, where this calls out is almost everything, everything else that makes up your personality, is really kind of almost disconnected from your essence. And also notice that the only other card that connects back to that, well, I guess something that you're capable of, which is kind of up in the air a little bit, but your foundation holds the same suit as your essence. Everything else, how you feel and everything like that, it's all separate from your foundation. So it's interesting that this card kind of plays back to your foundation, which could probably explain any sort of why you're coming into troubles, because your foundation and your essence are calling to something that is different from learned behaviors that you have now that you would feel would make up your personhood, that these things are kind of still trapped up in here. But I'll read this. So a crowned figure having a pentacle over his crown clasps another with his hands and arms. 2 pentacles are under his feet. So it means a surety of possessions, cleaving to that which one has, gifts, legacy, and inheritance. And so, I mean, what this means is he's got what he's got. He's not fucking letting go. There's no way that he's letting go. And that's the essence of your person. So that would really call back to almost like the burdens. Like this answers that question of the, why do you feel isolated? Why are you feeling the need to share this information? It's because you're unwilling to let that connection go. Even though there may be this sort of wall that comes up with the people that you love and care about, and maybe your foundation, and just having to deal with, why am I breaking and like getting all these walls? Your essence is just simply not willing to let it go. It's really, I mean, and obviously like this can change and everything like that. We could read this a year from now and all these cards can be different. But like what this is right now is, you know, this is like for you, it shows in your brain, this is a fight that you're not willing to lose. But what this card would show is desperation. Whereas the decision card is in a fighting stance and it's almost brave. This one is, oh my gosh. Like I'm sitting on a throne, I have a crown on my head. I can't let it go. Can't let it go. It shows this fear that's inside, whereas the decision making comes from bravery. But this is fear. This is, you know, being afraid to let it go would be really the essence of what's going on. And keep this in mind when we talk about all of these questions, especially when we get to these 4 cards with the hands and the feet. Mm-hmm. These are things that may or may not have come into fruition. And whether or not they come true is really based upon how do you handle the rest of this information. Because right now, this would show me being afraid. And this card I would see as problematic when dealing with your problems. This would show me that you're gonna hit a wall. But understanding this card and recognizing it and saying, okay, yeah, I am afraid to let go. I am afraid to do this, or yeah, that seems uncomfortable to me. I don't really want to deal with that right now. But noticing that, you know, I see you're here. It's okay. We're not going to talk to you yet, but I see you're here. Could help these other cards come into play, and sort of switch and adjust the things to kind of level out with everything else that you're really looking to achieve here. So the next one is what crosses your heart, and this one is the 7 of Swords. Right away, I can see that he's overburdened. He's got a little too many things in his hands. So let's see. So a man in the act of carrying away 5 swords rapidly. The 2 others of the card remain stuck in the ground, a camp close at hand. So it means design, attempt, wish, hope, confidence, also quarreling, a plan that may fail, an annoyance. It's really nice and self-explanatory to get cards where it's like, hey, what's like dumb to you? Annoying things, you know? That's kind of what this calls to, and like, really what, I mean, if you look at this card, he's got all these swords in his hand, he's like, oh fuck, I'm still missing those 2. You got 5 in your hand right now, and you're still like, what the fuck? You know, like, I can get all of them. And that would really be like the challenges that you're going through is, and it kind of connects to this essence. Like, I gotta hold on to everything, but I don't have everything yet. You know, it's like, and that's probably where this sense of like battle and like, let's get this fight going is, you know, the 4 of Pentacles would suggest you've got everything. You have your crown, and you have your throne, and you've got all your pentacles, which is real nice nice and close and got them all just right here with you. But these cards are saying that you don't feel that you have everything yet. I mean, like we were talking earlier, like you have your, like, when it pertains, like, connects to this wedding, you have, this one's hers, you have, like, a man that you love and who loves you, and you have, like, people like me who are here for you, and you have your mom who's been so supportive. But there seems to be two swords who are kind of stuck in the ground, and it's bothering you. And this would suggest that it's not like life or death. It annoys you that this is happening, and it calls back to, like, why can't you feel like this type of thing? Why are you stuck in the ground? Everyone else is being held. Why are you stuck in the ground? It doesn't make any sense. And, like, trying to get this message across, like, if I read their cards, it would look very much swords. It would look, well, you know, I have to explain it this way, and the thoughts are this way, blah, blah, blah. And it would look very different from this. And they would probably have the same thing, like, why is there this bullshit? Why is it all this weird? I don't understand where this thought process comes from, because it comes from spirit and emotions. But there's two particular swords here, right? Like, that's, and I mean, that's an interesting thing that it would call, where it's not like I said, it's not life or death. It's not like, this is devastation, you know? This is annoying. And it's not as bad as it could be. You know, like, we didn't pull the death card for what challenges you, which is kind of a good thing, right? So this is like, I would say, like, the deck calling you out and just sort of like, yeah, you got challenges. I mean, it's hard to carry 5 swords at once, you know? You got a chance of getting cut, and you've got a chance of having them fall, and they're heavy, and things like that. And, you know, but it could be worse. I mean, you could be holding all the swords. You could be holding one of the swords, none of the swords. And what this is really calling to is just saying, like, you know, why bother if it's just annoying? You know, it's not a matter of life or death. What's the point? You know, why hold so tight onto all the swords when it's like, you know, you might get cut anyways. So it's like, I feel like already, I mean, we've only done like, what, like 5 cards out of like 11, so barely half. And like, what this is really already calling out to you is like, ease up, let go, like chill, just a little bit. Just kind of just like, you know, you're loosey-goosey, let your muscles just like loosen for a second, because everything so far is like battle stance, holding swords, like everything is like tense everywhere. So what this is really calling to is just kind of like, hey man, it's okay, like you can like put swords down. They're not gonna go in their swords, you know, it's fine, you can put them there. Swords that are in the ground, you can come back, they'll still be in the ground. You can walk away, you can do something else. Oh, okay, let's try this time. You know, like that's what this is really calling toward, is just kind of like, you know, a little bit of breath, bringing a little bit of ease into these challenges. But this is, although that can be a little bit of like a hard pill to swallow, this is a really good card to get for something that's challenging, because it means that it's not, you know, devastating to your personhood. It's something that can easily be overcome, or, you know, according to the deck it's easy, but like, you know what I mean. So, next one. Let's move on. This one is the King of Wands, and this is what supports you. This is your spank. You find the wands. I always get like lost in this book. Okay, so the physical and emotional nature to which this card is attributed is dark, ardent life, animated, impassioned, noble. He uplifts a flowering wand and wears, like his 3 correspondences, in the remaining suits. He is called a cap of maintenance beneath his crown. He connects with the symbol of the lion, which is emblazed on the back of his throne.
The lion?
Mm-hmm. So, it means dark man, friendly, countryman, generally married, honest, and conscientious. So, this is what supports you.
That sounds like Matt. A lot of
Yeah.
those words just like kind of describe Matt.
Yeah, especially the generally married, like that. It's calling.
Plus,
to him.
like the lion in the background, like I'm a Leo.
And that would be his symbol. And definitely from what I hear about Matt, what I see about Matt, is a large part of what defines him as you. And, you know, obviously the lion isn't the whole picture. He's got his own self. But it's part of it. It's an important part of it. And what this really shows is almost like you know, you look at him, he's got a calming sort of, the whole word of noble to me calls to a more calming presence in general. You know, they've got it under control and things like that. And that's what supports you, is maybe when you're like, battle mode, he's like, oh good, you know, type of thing. Like, and, you know, I obviously don't know him as well, but, yeah, I would see that definitely calls back to Matt, and I would, like, that's what keeps you going. So when it's just like, these fucking swords, you got your King of Wands, and that's like, oh, I guess I'll keep walking with the rest of them. The King of Wands is what would encourage you to keep going. So.
And what do the wands usually represent?
The wands represent spirit.
Okay.
So, wands are spirit. The cups are emotions. The swords are like thoughts, and the pentacles are like finances and more like body, like physical. They more than usual relate to finances, but in the whole, you know, like personhood type of thing. Yeah, just
stuff.
very material world, very tangible type of thing with the pentacles. That the light from the candle all of a sudden like came into my eye. So yeah, so the next one is let's do hands next. So these are the things that you're capable of. So this is the Page of Pentacles. So really when I see the things that you're capable of, it's either skills that you already have or skills that are under the surface that you've not tapped into yet. So it'll be interesting to see what these cards pertain to, because what this is saying is either things that you already use, or more than likely, as it tends to happen with people, is things that you have capabilities of, and these are tools that you can use to make those things that cross your heart disappear. So, Page of Pentacles. So a youthful figure looking intently at the pentacle that hovers over his raised hand. It means application, study, scholarship, reflection. Another reading says news, messages, and the bringer thereof, also rule and management. So, like I said earlier, where Page of Cups is bringer of messages, this one is bringer of truth. This is, like what this says is, well, a burden you have is, you know, oh, I need to deliver all this message about maybe things that are more relating to like swords and logic and thought. What this would suggest is that while delivering messages and explaining things like that is something that you're absolutely capable of, what this would suggest is the reason why that one's a burden is because you're trying to deliver the wrong message. You're trying to basically speak to something that you're not familiar with. What this suggests is that you're absolutely capable, and there's a reason why you have a need to explain. There's a reason that you have a need to educate and explain to people, is because it's who you are. It's what you're good at, you know? But what this would suggest is for you to tap into what exactly, like, you know, we can't all be masters and have knowledge of everything on this planet. What is it that you're really good at getting your points across about? What is it? And really what battles is it worth to face? And like learning that and seeing that and approaching it that way. And then really becoming a learner of the things that you're not good at. So so that you can learn to reflect. You know, this is reflection and meditation, really. So it's having that ability, but sharing it. It's not just by yourself, which would also, you know, like go against your other burden, which is isolation. You want to share. It's what you, I mean, it's what you want. It's what you're good at. It's sharing. And what this really suggests is like learn to hone that skill and learn to understand it better. Take a step back and go, okay, let's look at it. Let's really analyze it and let's see what can it actually do, and maybe work on it from a different way so that it can start to grow. Because I feel like at this point, it's not really going anywhere. It's staying stagnant. This skill, and I feel like it has a really great potential to like, I mean, this skill alone can like fix everything. I think, you know, personally, I think this can just like fix everything. Like being truthful, being reflective can just, I mean, nearly solve anything, right? So it's like learning to hone in on this skill can make these other things just seem so much like, you know, just make space in your life. So the next one is the Four of Wands. And those are two people standing in celebration there. So from the four great staves planted in the foreground, there is a great garland suspended. Two female figures uplift nosegays, and at their side is a bridge over a moat leading to an old manorial house. They are, for once, almost on the surface. So country life, repose, concord, harmony, prosperity, peace, and the perfected work of these. So what you're capable of is bringing that. You're capable of bringing that harmony, bringing that peace. And not just like a little bit. It's not just like, oh yeah, we're all cool. You're capable of bringing it and harnessing it and making it the only thing. Perfection of harmony, perfection of peace. Like being able to call into truth and to call into reflection and be able to not just see it in yourself but see it in others and be able to express that is a skill that you have, and it connects directly back into this, where being able to harness this is a success of this card, is being able to, like, as soon as this is all done, even a little bit, then you get here. You know, it becomes really easy to get to this harmony and peace as soon as harmony is achieved, obviously, you know, like, because, I mean, they're celebrating, right? And, like, when you've gone through all the bullshit, there's nothing else to do but be happy and celebrate. So this is something that you're good at. And I would pay attention to this moving forward, is even though there may be, you know, oh, well, I'm feeling like this, and like, maybe I do need to let go, you have a really profound ability to connect to other people and to really understand what's going on and to be a peacemaker and to be a leader in that way. And keep that in mind moving forward, because it can really be the thing that makes or breaks everything else in this whole situation. So the next card is your desires and wants, which is the Three of Cups. This is the cooler card, as I like to call it.
Nice.
Yes, so it's bliss. And I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. What do you want? You want bliss and happiness, like pure, unadulterated bliss. Like, I mean, you know, what more do we have to say about it? Like, you just want to be, like, fucking happy. Not just like, I want to be okay, I'm good. I want to be fucking happy. Like, that's what that calls to. Is like, that's just what I want. So, the question then would be, is what does the future hold? Which are your feet here. So, this one is the King of Swords. Find it. So he sits in judgment, holding the unsheathed sign of his suit. Whatsoever arises out of the idea of judgment and all its connections, power, command, authority, militant intelligence, law, offices of the crown, and so forth. This is actually Romeo's card.
Sounds like my mother.
Yeah. Well, you know, interesting enough, where, you know, it seems just sort of like, oh, blah, 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 and intelligence and everything like that. What that would suggest to me is owning of these capabilities. Like, because this is a no bullshit card.
Okay.
Like, that's really what this is this is a card of like, no, fuck this bullshit. Like, this is all like, you know, this is law, and law is law, and intelligence is intelligence. So like, there's no real questions about these types of things. And he sits here, and he's on his throne, and he's stoic, and he's got his sword raised, and he knows what the fuck is up. You know what that really calls to is harnessing these capabilities, and as a result of that comes no bullshit. There's no more of like, no. When someone says something that, you know, doesn't sound nice to the ears, you're just like, I don't think so. And it's harnessing the ability to see reflection, to see truth, especially in other people, and going, I don't think so. And saying, this is the truth. This is what it really is. And because that's not a card of just like, oh, you know, I'm just going to deliver a message to you. That's delivering the truth. Like, what this is being confident in delivering the truth. And that's what the future would hold. And although it seems a little bit scary, he's stoic and he's got a sword out and he's like, let's fucking go. And he's sure of himself, and being sure of yourself can be very scary, especially when you have cards of being unsure. But this, although scary, like, as soon as these things are harnessed, it leads to this. And when this is in place, when this sword card is in place, when you got a lot of swords in your life, like, this is control of the swords. This is king of the swords. You're having problems over here with some swords getting out of line. He's king of the swords. He rules over all the swords. This is control of everything. And control of everything is finding harmony. It's having that control. And that's something that you're capable of. You know, so that's really what this is your future is an almost scary level of control. I would say is almost intimidating, right? The swords will quake in your presence and need to be ruled by you, is what that would show me. The other one here is the Two of Wands. Getting out of whack with this thing. So, a tall man looks from a battlemented roof overseeing shore. He holds a globe in his right hand, and a staff in his left rests on the battlement. Another is fixed in a ring. The rose and crow and lily should also be noticed on the left side. So it means between the alternative readings, there is no marriage possible. On the one hand, riches, fortune, magnificence, and on the other hand, physical suffering, disease, chagrin, sadness, and mortification. The design gives one suggestion. Here is a lord overlooking his dominion and alternately contemplating a globe. It looks like the malady, the mortification, the sadness of Alexander amidst the grandeur of his world's wealth. So, what this is saying is you have a decision in your future. This is a lord, a king looking over his land. And there's a lot of abundance in this land, but he's going, oh, but look at this globe, it sucks. There's so much shit going on in this world. But the world here is so tiny and so shitty compared to all of this abundance. And what it means is there's no marriage possible. And like, you know, like with the whole medieval talk, it could just be like, wait, I'm not going to get married? No. What that means is, you know, you can't sit here and be like, the world sucks. And you also can't be like, wow, everything is great and sucks, and everything is great, oh, and also sucks. There's no, you can't have one with the other. There's only, everything is awesome, or everything sucks. And what this calls to is, you gotta pick, do you want to sit here and you want to go, oh, this freaking sucks, or do you want to throw that shit aside, even though it's the world, it may seem like the world, but you can throw that aside, and you have your land. It may not be the whole entire world, but you got your land, and my God, it's looking beautiful. You know, it's the deck is asking you to choose. It's not, you know, playing into this. So I gotta hold on to this, and I only got this, and I only got this. I gotta hold on to everything I got. It's saying no more of that. It's saying, you know, you're playing into both fields here. It's oh, my life's really cool, and also in some that's what it's really saying is what you're dealing with, and what this really calls to is just saying, like, pick a fucking side. What do you want to believe? What do you believe? Do you believe that your life rocks, or do you believe that it sucks? And you gotta pick. And I've definitely been in that space too, where I'm like, oh yeah, everything's going good. Also, fuck, like this shit blows. Like, I've had this happen to me, and this happened, and this happened. This person's being like this. I'm sitting here looking, oh, this sucks, and I'm not able to see anything else because I'm like, oh no, and it's like right in front of my face. And that's what this is asking you to do. It's asking you to activate these cards, activate this inside of you, become this. And when this is here, the decision's really clear. I mean, obviously, and my hopes and dreams for you would be that you see the abundance that you have and the fruitfulness of your land, even though it may seem small in comparison to a world, it is vast. You know, like, for you, it will be vast and abundant. And although you can 1000% be king of shithood, you know, you can 1000% be like, I'm gonna see only the shitty stuff, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Like, absolutely you can turn that way. But more than likely, with your desires and what supports you being more positively centered, I probably see the world kind of just being, let me look more out. So keep this in mind, though, that this decision is here. It in the future hasn't been made yet. You're still holding on to the world, so you just got to be careful moving forward with, like, what am I gonna do, and make sure that you don't fall into the sort of just pessimistic, like, life sucks type of thing. So the next one is your foundation, which is the 8 of Pentacles. So an artist in stone at work. So it means work, employment, commission, craftsmanship, skill, and craft in business. Yeah. Does that feel, because that feels almost a little off to me, because that feels more like your later life than your foundation.
Well, what I kind of feel like it is, because you said that the tie between my essence and my foundation was interesting. I think it's because I was raised to appreciate what I do have, and I was also raised to get my shit done.
Yeah.
And to hustle. And so I do think that is very much a foundation of who I am. And that's kind of why I have those other things, like the isolation, that I have that, like, me against the world. Because I feel like if I don't feel like it's me against the world, I might get fucked over.
Yeah. Well, the reason I say that, and, normally I would just, start going and start interpreting. But the reason I say that is because, the reason I would call back to this is because when I talk about foundation, I typically relate it to your parents.
Okay.
And I would say that because this is a really small reading, and the reverse is like right there, and for the word that comes out to me with reverse is vanity.
Okay.
And like it says voided ambition, vanity, cupidity, excitation, and usury. And I see the main as sort of like work and employment, get your shit done. I see that in like sort of in high school, watching you like get your grades and working at McDonald's and all that shit. for me, from my perspective, I see that as coming from you. Maybe sort of influenced a little bit by your parents, but you know, when I see looking at your parents, I see a whole lot of just like almost feeling like they know what they're talking about, but what do you have to show for it, kind of thing. And you know, I don't know. It seems kind of mean, but I don't feel like they deserve credit as much as that card would kind of suggest.
Okay.
As you know, where that intense work comes from, almost felt growing up, watching it almost felt like it was out of spite, as opposed to, I learned this from my parents type of
That's
thing.
right.
It felt more like it came from a place of anger, came from a place of, I'll show you, you know? And so that's why I kind of asked, like, does this feel kind of like it fits? Where I can definitely see your parents saying, yeah, you gotta work. Where void in an ambition in the reversed sense can definitely be like, you gotta work. But, you know, like your parents aren't millionaires. You know, I don't know if they're working at the jobs that they love or anything like that. Like, it's more apparent for people who like work really hard and mean it and things like that, and like really follow through with that. There wouldn't be really any question of it. And so that's why it's interesting to me with the foundation, where I would call back to the reverse thing, but I tend to only call to reverse when the aforementioned first part of it doesn't really fit, but it also does, because I guess stick with me here for a second. I always call back to the parents, but you are almost like a parent to yourself. And so it would make sense, whereas the way that you parent yourself is different from how your parents parented you. And it almost feels like the way that, and this is the foundation, so this is in the past. It may not hold true now. Like, I can see how your mom has grown exponentially and how she is able to like talk to you even. And whereas like vanity may not be what it was back then, that it almost seems like reversed fits your parents and the foundation they lay for you, whereas the opposite comes from you parenting you. And that's why it's got me a little bit confused, is because normally it's one or the other, whereas this one feels like everything. Which is also interesting because I've not read the reversed of any others. And this one I'm like, what's reversed? Like, yeah, that's what the foundation is it's all of y'all. It's not just your mommy and daddy who did everything. It's you know? And yeah, I mean, maybe it's just a biased opinion of mine, but I really don't think that they deserve the credit of the hardworking man making all those pieces of art. That comes from you know? Because at the end, he has all those pieces. He has all that art. And your parents don't have all of that to show for. You do. You have all of that to show for. And so that comes from you. But it's interesting that typically the reverse is almost like, the exact opposite. So it'd be like, in this case, it'd be like laziness. And no, your parents didn't teach you to be lazy. They definitely were preaching the same thing you're preaching. It's just that you got it right. Whereas it came from, I don't want to say like a better heart, because it's not like necessarily like they were coming from an evil place or something like that, but just sort of like, almost like empty ambition. Like, there it is, like, here's this, like, here's the ambition, but like there's no real meat to it, whereas somehow, some way, you crafted something out of it, is what that would be. So, then it would be interesting to see the outside influences. So this is the Empress. This is just your outside influence. So again, the next card is how it affects you. So this is just what it is. So this one can be a little bit difficult because these are more of just kind of like general, like the the meanings of them as opposed to like what it is, because they're just cards, and so it's like, you know, a little bit more like, you know, feely and everything like that. So yeah, the Empress is fruitfulness, initiative, action, long days, clandestine, the unknown, difficulty, doubt, and ignorance. And that's your outside influence. That's just what it is, you know, sort of questioning would be your outside influence. And maybe that calls to your family questioning of things, you know, obviously like with the marriage coming up and everything, questioning, oh, well, do I like that? Do I want to be involved in a wedding? And there's like that doubt there, and then the doubt coming from you of sort of the, do I want them there? Do they care type of thing? Is that would be the current outside influence. It's just sort of this feeling of doubt, you know? But it's best not to linger on this one, because this is how it actually affects you, which is the 9 of Wands. Let's find it. Hey, baby. So the figure leans upon his staff and has an expectant look as if awaiting an enemy. Are you awaiting an enemy? Okay. Behind him are 8 other staves erect in orderly disposition like a palisade. The card signifies strength and opposition. If attacked, he will meet the onslaught boldly. With this main significance, there are all its possible adjuncts, including delay, suspicion, and adjournment. So, this is almost similar to the way you make decisions, where he is, you know, the decision card is currently in battle. This one is waiting for it. And obviously when there's doubt cast over, it's suspicion. It's not action. It's feeling. And you know, like there's definitely almost like when you asked Michaela, is it? When you asked her, what do I not know? Mm-hmm. What you're asking for is, give me something that I can take action on. Mm-hmm. What the fuck did she say? I want to know. I want to know. Like it was sort of just like the, like I need exact words as sort of like, you know, did she or did she not suggest she wants to go to war with me? Did she say she wants to battle me? Because I'm waiting. Mm-hmm. Because you have this doubt and this sort of suspicion going on. Are these people caring? What are they feeling? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. And because of that, you're sitting here like ready to go. And it almost is like, I want to battle.
I want to throw hands.
I want to throw some hands. You know, it's definitely like, you know, the way that you make decision here is like, I'm fucking ready to go. That's your brain all the time. Mm-hmm. And then it gets trapped, because if you're isolated by yourself, who are you supposed to fight? You know, if you're spending all your time trying to explain things, and explaining is patience, you know, the way that you try to do things, the way that your personality works, is not for battle, it's for learning, and learning is not a place of war.
And for harmony.
And for harmony, right? And it's not a place to throw hands at each other. This is what you want, to throw hands. And this is what your outside influence is doing to you, is really what this is saying. And more than, I've read about 3 or 4 of these big spreads before. The outside influence is like kind of related and stuff like that, and typically for more people it's inner battles. Mm-hmm. For you it's not really that. It's almost all outside. It's almost everything that you're dealing with on the inside is the fault of the outside. It's the fault of your foundation. It's the fault of these people casting doubt and suspicion on your life that makes you feel like you have to go to battle when every other part of you is screaming, no, I can't, no, we're not going to go to battle, we can't fight, we don't have any armor, what are you talking about?
It's true, I'm squishy.
You know, like, we don't have any swords. What are we supposed to do when a bunch of guys with swords come at us? Like, nothing. We could build a wall of sticks, and that's what we got. But, like, swords will chop it down, you know? And it's like, that's what, like, it's interesting that this whole battle side of thing comes from wands and not swords. It's not what you got. You have sticks. Sticks won't do a whole lot of damage, you know? And, like, but that's all you have to work with. You're like, well, shit, I got stone built and I'm ready to go. And, like, that's what you have going. And, like, what this would suggest here is, like, fine, get your fucking sword. But when you do it, you see, he's not in a battle stance. He's got one. He's ready to go. You want to fucking step up to the king with his fucking sword? I don't think so. No. But, like, he's not standing. He's not going, let's go. He's sitting. He's like, sure. I mean, if you want, you can come over here. But, like, I'm relaxing. I'm ready to fight you, but I'm relaxing. And, like, this is what this is really calling towards, is almost, like, finding control of this. And, like, finding a confidence in the battle to a point where you don't feel like you need to anymore. There's no, like, I gotta set up all my sticks. It's like, I'm good. I'm armored. I've got all my weapons that I need, but I also don't need to use them, too. I'm comfortable. I'm sitting. I'm fine. I'm on my throne. You know, like, that's what this deck wants for you. This deck wants you to feel comfortable and confident. And, like, you know, the outside influence, like, you can do a whole lot about the inside. You can absolutely change all of this.
Yeah.
You know, but the outside, not so much. It's not really up to you too much, you know. Maybe how it influences you, but that card up there is not a whole lot you can do, really. I mean, what are you supposed to do, right? So, it's saying that, you know, you don't have a choice. You kind of have to deal with it. But if you're gonna, you might as well, you know, do it in a way that keeps you safe and keeps you protected and also gives you space to be who you are and to let go and to breathe. And, you know, all this battle makes your muscles tense, makes it so that you don't have any air to breathe anymore. And this is finding some sort of harmony, right? Some sort of balance to be able to breathe and battle at the same time. And it's not suggesting that that's going to go away, because your parents are your parents. There ain't nothing you can do about it.
Right.
But there absolutely is a way, and I don't know what that is, right? That's up to you, but there is absolutely a way that finding that balance of battle and breath can come together. And the fact that it is in your future is a really good sign. So what do you think?
Good ass reading.